Hello and welcome to the Liberated by Faith podcast. I'm your host, Carly Modra, and I am so grateful to have you here. The Liberated by Faith podcast is a space where I'll be sharing stories of freedom, grace, and redemption. A space where I and my guests will be sharing the ways that God is working in and through our lives and how we came to know Him. Many of us believing it was the absolute last place we would have ever found ourselves, yet here we are. When you are a seeker of truth and not willing to stop until you find it, it always leads you to one place, to the creator of all creation, to the one true God who begets all of it. I am so happy to have you here, and I look forward to sharing this ever-growing testimony to God's love, faithfulness, and goodness. Thank you for being here and sharing in this journey with me. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Liberated by Faith podcast. I'm super excited to have you here and very excited to have my friend Sam, who is joining me today to share his testimony. And so Sam and I go to the same church and we met through a mutual friend, and he shared a little bit about his story and growing up Christian to finding himself away from that path for a few years, and he has a really amazing story to share, and I'm super excited to hear it because I haven't heard the full version yet. So thank you, Sam, for joining me.
No worries. Yeah, it's nice to connect and to just share this time with you.
I'm very excited. So maybe I generally start with where you've come from, so your childhood and all of that, but if you want to just introduce yourself first, tell us a little bit about you, and then share about your childhood.
Yeah, sure, no worries. I'm currently 36 years old. I live on the Sunshine Coast. In Mount Coolum. I'm surrounded by such beautiful friends and family that I love to sort of spend my time with when I'm not doing my support work. Um, I'm also just love being outdoors and being active and going on adventures with housemates or friends, and just getting people out into God's creation. I'm also really passionate just about helping in the church and being a part of that, and helping disciple new Christians, and helping them with their journey as well. So that sort of sums me up in a little nutshell.
Love it. Yes. So, tell us a bit about your upbringing, because you grew from, born into a Christian family. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was born in Kempsey, New South Wales. We had a pretty sort of simple upbringing. We had just lived on 5 acres of land with uh, and my parents, renovated an old sort of farmhouse there, and my dad was pretty good with his hands, and just loved you know renovating houses, and just being really practical around the home. And mum was obviously the primary caregiver, looking after us kids. So I really look back on that time of my life. It's really quite fond and sweet. They also were new to faith. They became Christians before we were born. So that obviously had a significant impact on how we were raised. We went to a church, and we're involved in that community in various ways, and it was really, really quite nice. And then I think as us kids started to grow up, my parents decided that we needed to have just a few more opportunities for schooling, and um, to grow in other areas of our life, rather than just living in a small sort of country town. And Kempsey at that time as well, and still is a bit rough around the edges. So
Yeah.
I think mum and dad really spent a lot of time in prayer and really thought, what would be the best decision to sort of raise, a family and to make sure that they have the best opportunities moving forward. And as well, Dad was, I think, also wanting to do some Bible study as well. And there was a great uh, Bible study course that was run in Melbourne that he really wanted to be a part of. So, um, yeah, so I think we all, as a family, decided, well, the best thing to do was to move from this small country town of Kempsey to the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. And yeah, it was really it was a big change, and you got three kids who are under like pretty much eight, and yeah, my two sisters are only 2 years apart from me. I was sort of like five, heading into 6 years old at the time, so yeah, it was yeah, big change of season and stuff. But yeah, my parents yeah, moved to sort of like the outer eastern suburbs, like sort of like Ringwood area, Ringwood, Lilydale area. And yeah, they enrolled us into a Christian school called Mount Evelyn Christian School. Um, and yeah, it was good. It was really nice. Like I really felt like that school again just taught some really foundational Christian teachings, but they were also um, slightly left of center with their education and stuff. So I really enjoyed that as well. It wasn't just so straight up curriculum based. It also really, um, yeah, just tried to be a little bit more um, out of the box and a lot more inclusive for other kids that maybe had different needs and stuff. So yeah, so I think I sort of just fitted in there quite well. Yeah, and so throughout my like primary school and that yeah, I really felt that yeah, I was supposed to be there. And yeah, and I think with my sisters too, like um yeah, and just yeah, having that supportive community around us. And yeah, and I think throughout the primary school years of schooling, like our parents, sort of renovated houses and were involved in a church community as well. Um, yeah, in those areas and stuff. So yeah, that also kept our lives pretty busy. Yeah, and I think as well, like for my dad, like he just spent a lot of time obviously trying to provide for the family, but then also renovating houses and stuff. So I think he found that even just the time he got to spend with us kids as well was minimal, to an extent, yeah. Um, but that's okay, life. um, yeah, you have to do what you have to do to sort of get by and do those things. So, um, and yeah, I think probably, I guess I sort of reached probably around about 10 years of age, 11 years of age, and I sort of was hit with a significant uh, 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 growth defects, like where my legs were and my tendons stopped growing with the rest of my body, and I was in quite significant pain. And yeah, I just remember yeah, sort of spending about 18 months living and getting around in a wheelchair throughout
Wow.
schooling and at home life and whatnot. So yeah, that made life pretty challenging and difficult. Yeah, there were times where I'd be at school, and I'd get pushed around in a wheelchair and stuff. And yeah, and sometimes I just found myself feeling quite alone and isolated by that. But I always really appreciated the school always made sure like someone was with me and had to sit with me, and in recess and at lunch, so I was never left alone in that aspect. And I think that's part of the caring nature of a school and that sort of thing. And then at home, yeah, I just remember, um, yeah, just getting around. Sometimes I'd be crawling on the floor just because my legs were in so much pain, and yeah, and yeah, or not being able to move very quickly around the house and that sort of thing. So yeah, it really that significant moment really deterred me from being able to play sport, doing all those things that kids should be doing at that time, and put a real stint of my in my personal growth. So, but yeah, my parents were always very kind, and yeah, did everything that they could to try to support me through that time. And I actually got better, through a series of like cortisone injections and physio, and eventually like the tendons started to loosen and to catch up with the rest of my body, before I then reached my early teenage years and had that next growth spurt. But because I was, doing these things, it helped my body so much more with that process. So yeah, but it was a really difficult time that I sort of look back on and go, oh, like, yeah, really difficult season that I feel like, yeah, God just carried me through it despite it being quite hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I guess, yeah, growing up we had these, yeah, it was a busy sort of time and a season and stuff. And then when I reached my sort of mid-teenage years, yeah, I think um, a few things happened in our family, like with our parents. Um, yeah, my dad had a bit of a disconnection with the church. A few things went on in his personal life that made him want to take a step back from his role as a youth pastor. And yeah, and I just remember that being quite significant because it then meant my mum didn't really go to church as much, and then it resulted in us kids not really going to church as much and being active in that way. I
Yeah.
still remember, you know, us praying and that at home and doing those things, but slowly the family became more disconnected, as a result of that. We were very grateful because we went to a Christian school and we still had, morning prayer and devotions and that sort of stuff, which I think, or which had a huge impact on my life. And yeah, I still think that kept our faith somewhat active throughout those years. Yeah, but I think, yeah, just my parents then started to, yeah, become swept up in so much of the world and those sorts of things, and trying to, provide for the kids and um yeah, and live out that life, that they really just their their church life and their faith somewhat dwindled, in those years. Yeah, and then I guess when I reached about, actually no, I won't talk about that. Yeah, sorry, I'll just talk about yeah, throughout the teenage years. Sorry, I might just cut it there if that's all right, just so I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
regroup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking about yeah, family, home life, faith dwindling. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. There was a also throughout my teenage years, like I felt like I was discovering more about myself and who I am, and uh, my creative giftings and who God made me to be. And um, yeah, and I became sort of curious in the idea of like filmmaking and what that is. Yeah, and I really became intrigued by some home movies that my dad made when we were younger as kids, and I started watching those things. And I remember also watching TV shows, like live TV shows, like Hey Hey It's Saturday,
Yeah.
on TV on Saturday nights, and like that always used to crack me up. And I just loved how they'd sort of, sometimes film things behind the scenes and that sort of thing. I just got really inspired by all of that. So, um, yeah, I was working sort of like part time after school at a truck washing place, earning $8 an hour, and saved up my pocket money and got I bought my first handycam to start making like movies and that, and yeah, it was something that I really enjoyed, and yeah, my dad also started a new career in IT. So he sort of was able to set me up with a bit of a computer to sort of help with video editing and doing all those sorts of things. So yeah, yeah, just sort of warmed to using that as like my creative outlet and something to do with my time when I wasn't at school and stuff. Um, yeah, so I started off just making little home movies with my mates and stuff. And then that quickly transpired into making films for school wherever I could. Like when there was like a project that we had to do, I'm like, can I make a movie about that? Yeah, and it was just really fun. And then in year 10 of our schooling, our school group went to Central Australia for a school camp. We did like an 18-day road trip from, our school in Melbourne, down Evelyn in Melbourne, all the way out to Central Australia. Yeah, with like 60 kids on a school bus, like what could go wrong, really?
And
Yeah,
teachers. Wow.
yeah. I think there was like I think about 5 or 6 teachers at the time, and like I was yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, it's like this. We went out to Central Australia and we stayed with an indigenous group out there in Yuendamu, and yeah, we got to spend time um, with those people. Yeah, learning about their culture and their lives there. Yeah, the school has great connections with that community there, and still do to this day. It's yeah, it was a really beautiful, eye-opening experience for us and all the school kids as well, because we also, prior to that, did a lot of education in Koori studies, which is Aboriginal studies, and we also learnt Warlpiri, which was the native Indigenous language for Yuendamu. So
Right.
yeah, it was so cool, and I went about filming like the whole experience for these people, like the kids and also the parents and that. And I made like this documentary piece, an hour-long documentary piece that yeah, was shown to all the kids, the teachers, and parents of that particular school group at a school assembly. It just got like this standing ovation. Everyone loved it. It was like this
That's amazing.
really eye-opening thing. And I was just like, then and there, I had this revelation and was like, I know what I'm going to do with my life. Like, this is where I want to
Yeah.
pursue my passion and my heart, like making films and doing these things. Um, yeah, then, yeah, sort of knew the pathway of where I wanted to go in life. And I really believe that I think God just like showed it to me. He's like, yeah, you're going to be doing this. And yeah, um, so I think from that moment on, I then started, yeah, when I left school at year 12, got did 1 year of study at Box Hill TAFE, and just got some basic education around that. And then I was lucky enough to then get some work experience at Channel 7. Yeah, just doing like um, well, really anything and everything. And then, yeah, and then from there, I got a broadcast traineeship that went into broadcast TV. And yeah, and with that broadcast traineeship at Channel 10, I just was given. It was a whole year where I got to learn and go into all the different departments of broadcast TV and what how they make everything happen in it, and learning the nuts and bolts of it all. And yeah, it was again like really fond memories, and um, yeah, it brought me a lot of joy being in that space, and learning from those industry people that had been there for 20, 30 odd years. So yeah, and then from there I was lucky enough to get a job in the TV studios as a first as a stagehand, but then I progressed into as a role as a lighting director. Yeah, doing setting up all the lighting for TV shows and that sort of thing. And I really liked that because it was like probably the most creative role in that studio space. Yeah, but I'm also really thankful because that full-time job and that um, I guess commitment to a role not only taught me industry skills and stuff, but it also um, helped keep me grounded in a period of time where um, yeah, my parents got divorced when I was like 18, 19. So having sort of like a focus and a passion for something, that kept me away from maybe the pain and hurt from of my parents. Um, yeah, having their lives separated, it was very healing, to my heart, and I just allowed my attention to be focused on something else that was maybe a bit more important to me at that time, rather than um, the brokenness of our family, which is sad, but it's a real realization.
Yeah.
Um, so. Yeah, I guess yeah. I moved out of home when my parents got divorced, and I ended up living in inner city Melbourne, and yeah, and just doing life, as a working at Channel 10 as a broadcast trainee, and yeah, and then just experiencing all the things that the world had to offer, as a young 20-year-old sort of living in the city, and that I wasn't a part of a church. I really took a step back from church life. I didn't really feel like it was for me anymore, and I wanted to explore other things outside of the church. Yeah, I started going, yeah, from pretty much when my parents got divorced, 18, 19. I started going to nightclubs, I started partying, I started like doing all these other things that um I don't know, I think I just need to understand more things about myself and other people, and growing up. Um yeah, I started dabbling into like drugs and that sort of things, psychedelics, um, yeah, party drugs, all those things. Yeah, that you kind of do when you're not grounded in faith anymore, because you're looking for some sort of something else to fulfill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something. You're
Um,
looking for something. You don't know what, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Um, and it's strange because in all that, I still prayed, and I still had some sort of faith. But I was like, no, I want to do this. So like, and I was just growing and trying to learn more about myself during that season of life, yeah, and it wasn't all bad. Like I think there was lots of still really good things. Like I really think that it was just part of me growing as a person. Yeah. So you know, moving out and living, in a different environment with housemates, and still having a full-time job, but, going out and partying and doing all those things, like I guess it made me grow up more as a person. Yeah. And then, yeah, I was at Channel 10 for about 5 years, I'd say. And, yeah, and I just reached a point where I wanted something different for my life. Like I had, was going to the same place, the same studio, doing the same thing day in, day out, and that's the monotony of life, isn't it, for most of us,
Yeah. I
Um,
could do that, but yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it can be really beautiful for a season, and then sometimes we can get a little bit frustrated by it all. Throughout that time, I was like, I was lucky to have saved up money and done a few little various overseas trips and that sort of thing, but nothing where I could just travel for an extended period of time and have complete freedom. Yeah, so I reached this point of my life where I was ready for a change. And at that time, Channel 10 were offering voluntary redundancies to people in the workspace because they were trying to scale down their production. So I saw this as like the perfect opportunity to um, get a paycheck and yeah, travel
Yeah.
indefinitely, you know. And I just remember my dad at the time was like, "Sam, what are you doing? A stable full-time job is the right thing to do. You should stay devoted to that, that sort of thing." But I was just like, "Nah, I'm done. I'm gonna go." So yeah, I wrote out that letter of resignation and put it on the desk, and then, you know, yeah, a couple of weeks later, I received a 40 grand paycheck in my bank account, and you're like,
Yeah.
thank you, I'll take that. And yeah, and then jumped on a plane and flew to Portugal. Actually, was the first place, because it's a big music festival that takes place there called Boom, and that was just like, that was the one that I wanted to go to. And yeah, and I had a whole bunch of other friends that were there and that I wanted to be a part of. And yeah, and I was just like, when I got there, I was like, freedom, like, yes, like, it's amazing. Like, and then I literally left the travel open. I could go anywhere I wanted to, like, in the world, and to um yeah, just to see and experience what I felt I needed to do. Yeah, so I went to yeah, Portugal, yeah, a lot of Western Europe, um, you know, Norway, a lot of Scandinavia, Iceland, then parts of Thailand. And then when I arrived in Thailand, just remember I'd been bouncing around like a bit of a ping pong ball. I arrived in a place called Pai, and yeah, I really, um, yeah, just grounded myself and just took some time out. And I just remember, um, yeah, sitting there, in this beautiful place, and just realizing that, um, this wasn't my home, and that my home was um, in Australia, you know, and that's where I felt like I needed to be. I Yeah, then just booked a ticket back home, and yeah, and returned a couple of weeks later. Yeah, after about 3.5 months of travel. Um, yeah, and I was like really grateful that I had that experience and got to do all those things. But I think it made me realize as well, like, that sort of travel can be amazing, but if it doesn't have purpose behind it, or a real, like, you know, a longing to do something with it, then there's no real need for it, like, or desire for it. Like, with that, for me personally, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, just learnt a lot through those travels and experiences. And then um, yeah, just came back home. I was living with my dad again at that time. He had a little bungalow at the back of his house, and I lived in this little bungalow thing. And yeah, I was just doing life, yeah, kind of like with him and his partner, and yeah, and myself in that space. Um, yeah, and then I just got into like corporate video work, filming, um, yeah, doing like corporate video jobs and that sort of thing. I sort of did some uh, freelance work for Channel 10, like The Project. I was doing like film shoots for them, going out on location, filming like um, just stories and that for them, and yeah, that get shown on the TV show. And I really enjoyed that. That was a lot more where I felt God was wanting me to head, in my life and direction. So, um, but yeah, I just felt like I wasn't getting enough work. Those sort of jobs came up every now and then, but there just wasn't enough. Yeah, and I just got a bit little bit frustrated by not having the work and that sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't know what to do outside of that with my life. So um, and then I met a friend of mine, Dean, who yeah, we had so much in common and a like-mindedness about ourselves, and he enjoyed going to music festivals and doing all that sort of stuff. So I ended up yeah, forming a great connection with him, and then we worked on creating a video production company together called Interlude Media
Yeah.
um, that was kind of more solely focused around creativity and yeah, and exploring that and trying to create like creative videos for people yeah, who have like a business or something like that, and creating like business profiles. But then we also saw the greater potential of documenting just more life in general. So, documenting um, the life of young families and trying to show like the beauty within that, and like the innocence of it, and building story within that, and then also looking at the other spectrum of life was elderly people, and kind of like hearing about their stories and their testimonies, and like what they had to share about their lives and
Yeah.
whatnot. Similar to what we're doing now, but yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit different.
So good.
Yeah, and yeah, we both really love that, and we both felt like that was part of like where our hearts were leading to. So yeah, and still to this day, I have the website up, and you can see all the work there and
So
whatnot.
good.
So
Yes,
um,
I'll link that in the show notes for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I still see that as like a building block for other things that God wants to do in my life. But yeah, I yeah, just felt that me doing that and working with Dean on that, it felt like that I had something else to do outside of, and there was more purpose for my life than just doing the everyday, or doing the one corporate shoot every now and then type thing, or the odd wedding here and there. So, um, yeah, so we did that for a real season, do a little bit more travel and that sort of thing, as you do, in your sort of more mid to late 20s and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, when I reached about 30, I met my uh, ex ex-girlfriend, and she was my first real love, the one that it wasn't just like, a love that was like, at high school you date for like 4 months and then it dwindles away. Like this was like the one that was like had a significant impact on my life, and yeah, that really just touched my heart. So she lived up in Queensland, and I was in Victoria, and we met sort of through travel. Yeah, when I was traveling through Byron Bay, and we had a mutual friend, and just got connected that way. And yeah, she just had this really inspiring story of her life and what she did, and yeah, when we sort of connected, and yeah, it just left a real impression on my heart and whatnot. So. Um, then when we connected, again a couple of years later, yeah, when I was pretty much 30, and chatted on the phone and that sort of thing, we just was like, wow, like you sound amazing, you sound amazing, cool. So yeah, we were just really good for each other at that season of life. Yeah, we dated for about 3 months, and before we knew it, like we were both in love, or I was anyway. I decided, well, hey, I'm going to pack up my life. I'm going to, sort of put everything on hold, and I'm going to move up there to live with her. And it was pretty challenging because, I sort of built all these connections and things in Melbourne, and also like a business as well with Dean. Yeah, my business partner and that at the time, and I just had to say to him like, hey, like this is where I feel called, and like, I'm maybe we'll try and do it from afar and that sort of thing, and um, yeah, and I just sort of left. Yeah, it was a huge huge thing to sort of happen and to take place, when you move interstate, and
Mm,
yeah,
it's huge.
um, yeah, but um, it felt right for me at the time, and um, yeah, and yeah, at the time, like, yeah, I was moving into a house, where this person, my girlfriend, she wasn't Christian, you know, at the time, like, I didn't really identify as being Christian, and I moved in and living with her, and yeah, we just did life, and there was a piece of myself, part of myself that just didn't quite like feel right, like with it all. Like I was moving into her house, you know, I was helping her with all her work and helping her with all her kids, and while trying to still do my own thing on the side, but that it really dwindled away, because my priority and focus was all just on her. Yeah, we had some great experiences though together, like with travel and um, yeah, visiting various places around the world with her business and whatnot. But yeah, I just always felt like there was a longing in my heart for something more, so yeah, I guess yeah, with that, I really I sort of prayed about it because I still feel like that I had a faith, in that sense that it just didn't have any identity or real knowing around that. Yeah, and every time I used to go up to the Sunshine Coast to visit my family, because we were living on the Gold Coast at the time, and we'd visit on school holidays to see my family. Yeah, like we'd go up with my ex and her two boys at the time, and go up there for the school holidays and just connect with my family. And while I was there, I could always um, see so much love in their homes, and I could see, you know, that there was a tremendous peace that surrounded them. The kids played nicely together. There were beautiful things written on the walls, scriptures and that sort of thing. And yeah, there was just so much love. And I think for me, I had this real penny drop moment of like, oh, that's what's been missing in my heart, and then I could just see so much light in the home, and I could see, yeah, I could see Jesus. I could see Jesus in the space. I was yeah, a little bit taken back, because my life did not resemble that. I was scrambling with doing so many other different things. I was still immersed in festivals and partying and trying to create this understanding and identity of life outside of Christ, when all I was really longing was to be with him. So I remember, just going into the toilet of my mum's place at that time and sitting down on the toilet, and I'm like looking up at this picture there, and it says, I am a new creation in Christ Jesus. And the picture actually looked very similar to this one here. It was like of a garden, and it just, yeah, in the scriptures, I'm a new creation in Christ Jesus. I had like, yeah, a bit of a revelation moment for myself. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what I'm longing for. My life is just all so up and down and so much chaos and that in it, and all I want is to start again and to have a fresh understanding of what it means to truly live. And I remember even like looking down, where people normally keep their toilet rolls, and I could see like Mum had like a little devotional book in there and a few other books as well, but this book was it was called Jesus Today. I remember sitting on the toilet and I'm like flicking through this book, and it's like a devotional book about different things that Jesus would speak about and say, and a few other quotes from other people that point towards Jesus. And And I was just like, whoa, I think I was on the toilet for like about 25, 30 minutes like that while everyone else was having a good time. And I just remember saying to Mum, I walked out of there, I'm like, uh, hey Mum, do you mind if I take this book home? Like, I think it could be nice. And like, you know, yeah, so I did. I went back, with Jesse and the kids back to the Gold Coast, and, you know, uh, our relationship, yeah, just continue to go through some challenging times, and that sort of thing. And I just remember asking you know, my ex at that time, like, hey, um, I know you're experiencing some rough times. Do you mind if we pray, or if we, or I can show you this book that I got, that I can show you the scriptures and stuff. And for some reason, like these things always bring me great peace. And yeah, at the time, she wasn't ready to receive that sort of thing, but she was always open to prayer, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Um, but I just knew within my heart, like that's what I was longing and truly desired for myself. Yeah, so I think our relationship just went in different directions because we were longing for different things and had different desires in our lives and our hearts. And yeah, so I packed up all my things in my van, in my yeah, in a car that I had at the time, and yeah, relocated to the Sunshine Coast. And I moved straight into my sister's house, I think, Jess, and um, just very temporarily. She had a spare room. They were getting ready for their second child to be born, and yeah, they had a bit of time where that room was vacant. So I was like, yeah, they provided that space for me. And then yeah, went to my mum's house again, and I saw her next door neighbor, and I was just chatting to her and saying like, oh, hey, I was like wanting to go back to church, and like, um, yeah, I really want to, yeah, like I just really feel like I need to connect back with God and to be in that space. And yeah, she's like, oh, Sam, like I've got the perfect church for you. It's called Anthem. It's in Maroochydore. I know the pastor. He's like awesome, super creative. Like, he's yeah, like he's into video production, and yeah, I think you'll get along with him really well. And I was like, great, awesome. Like, when's the service? She's like, 10 a.m. on Sunday. All right, sweet. So I was like driving there to church on 10 a.m. on Sunday, and I just knew in my heart, I'm like, I'm I'm ready. Like, I want to give my life back to God. Like, I'm ready. Like, this is so I need to do this. Pull up at church, and like, yeah, I just remember like walking into church and like just being warmly welcomed by the people there. Like, and it just felt so real and genuine. Like, I had never experienced that from a church before. Like, people actually wanted to know about me. And um yeah, and I could see, like, even in the church foyer, like the messages and the things that they had around the room. And it had literally like three key principles, which was like, fearless creativity, real change, and I think it was like, maybe like passionate community or something like that. And like, like two of those three things were written on my um, business webpage that I'd written, like, about my video company. So I think my heart always knew and longed to be a part of this, but now I was entering into a church and to a space that like catered for part of this, and the need and the desire. Um, yeah, so I walked into the church, like, auditorium, yeah, where the stage is and all the seats and that sort of thing. And like they had just such amazing like music and worship and stuff, and like, yeah, and I was just like, whoa, like this is different. Like, I thought church was like, in a quiet little, I don't know, hall, and they just have, I don't know, well, when I remember it as a kid, like they had tambourines, and people just drumming on a guitar, and like it was I don't know, back in the 80s and 90s, like,
Yeah.
things were very different. Whereas this church had like, a big screen in front, and they had like, amazing music and amazing speakers and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, wow, like, this is so different. And then, yeah, I just remember the pastor doing a altar call, asking people, after the service and stuff, like, anyone here who wants to, give their life to God, you know, please come to the altar, and we'll pray for you. And I just like put my hand up, and I'm like, yep. Like, I went to the front, and like, I reckon about probably at least 10, 12 people all on their hands on me. They're praying for me. And in that moment, I felt like I died. I literally like felt like I was dead, as in my old self had died. Um, yeah, I was still alive, in that moment, as everyone was praying to me, I felt like I heard a voice say to me, um, and he said, Sam, pick up your mat and walk with me. Like, I want you to walk and follow me. I was like, what? No way. Like, really? And then it was so strange. It was like really clear, like, and obvious. And I was like, okay. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, what that means, but okay. And yeah, after the prayer and in that moment, like, um, yeah, I just remember, a couple of nice people then chatted with me, and they're like, yeah, they just asked about a bit about my journey, and then like, where I'm going, what do I want to do in life? And I'm like, yeah, I said like, I don't really know, but like, I said that I really just want to ground myself here, and to be a part of the community, and, understand what it is to sort of live out a Christian life, to do those things. Yeah, and they said, well, you come to the right place, and they gave me the flyer, and I made a couple of like really good friends there that still keep in touch with and are involved in my life. And like, I then, yeah, decided that, hey, I'm gonna do some study and get involved in aged care work, because when I prayed, I really felt like God say to me, he's like, Sam, if you want to um, follow me, you need to know what it means to really care and to be compassionate and loving, not only to yourself, but to others as well, you know. So, yeah, I studied aged care, and um, got a job in a Catholic facility called St. Mary's. And yeah, like I did about 18 months of like AIN care work, like literally, lifting old people to wash them down in the mornings, help them out of their chairs, take them for breakfast and do all those things. At first, it sucked. So um, it's like, oh, I'm coming in with my lunchbox and I'm putting things in a locker, and it's like all very structured and stuff. It was like literally like 6 months ago, I was living with, a girlfriend who used to pay for everything for me, and, would be at five-star restaurants and living a life, that I felt like had freedom, but it was not at all. Um, so yeah, it was incredibly humbling, like that experience. And if someone out there is like looking for direction and purpose in their life, like, go care for someone else, because it'll change you as a person and bring you back to life, especially when you're doing it with God. Like, yeah. So, yeah, and I learned so much about life as well, like spending time with these older people too, yeah, I really got to, connect and understand what it means to live a good life, and there were people there from all sorts of, who had done all sorts of journeys, some people that were, you know, very alone and isolated, didn't have any family and that sort of thing. And that was devastating to know that, well, wow, you've reached the end of your life and you got nothing. But then there were people who had their rooms full of photos and beautiful ornaments and things that they really cherished, and had family regularly visiting them. Like 90% of the time, those people had Christ in their life, had a, a cross on their door, or there would even be a Bible open, or they'd have some sort of scripture on the wall or something like that. And you could totally see, the life that just still beamed out of their eyes, like even at those, very twilight end of their years, the twilight years of their life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really cherish that time doing aged care work and that sort of thing. But I always felt, yeah, that wasn't where God wanted me to be. Like, it's only just for a short season to sort of get my life back on track, and to start really caring, for myself, being able to provide for myself, like, on a, providing finances, but then also like, yeah, just having structure in my life again, and yeah, building up that character, and then also being a part of a church, what that brings to your life, and having again a daily rhythm and structure, of yeah, serving in a community, but then also having community, praying for you and discipling you and equipping you for, your future and your life and all those things. So, yeah, yeah, because of that job, I managed to then move out into my own home where I live now. I've been here for pretty much 5 years, and like live with housemates and doing all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's been really lovely, and I've learnt to know now what it is to live out a Christian life, like um, through the practices and the understanding of Christ, and how He works in your life, and what He does to redeem us. So yeah, I sort of transitioned out of aged care, then into disability, partly because of COVID. You know, COVID had hit, and it was a big part of our lives and our world at that time. So they were forcing, mandatory vaccinations upon us all in that industry, and yeah, and I just remember, sorry, my phone's going. I just
Yeah.
remember saying that that was not something that I wanted to do. Like, I didn't feel right with it. Like, and I had so many other, people in my life saying, Sam, don't do that. Like, there's something not right about it, and at that time, like, I just felt like I did what was right for me, and yeah, so I had to quit my job, um, yeah, to not be forced to take it, and it was sort of pivotal timing as well, like in the sense that I I left it not only because of the vaccinations, but as well I wanted to take time off for work, and they weren't allowing me to do that. So I said, "Well, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I want to, I'm gonna leave." Yeah, but it was because of as well, like it was to do with a particular thing where my football team was in the grand final that year, and it was happening over in Perth. And
Yeah.
yeah, so work weren't allowing me to take this time off. I ended up quitting my job, taking that step of faith, hopping on a plane, flying over to Perth, like, and I had to quarantine for 2 weeks over there, um, just to get to this game. But thankfully, I really felt like God had His hand upon me throughout that whole season, because yeah, I was staying with my stepbrother's parents at that time at their house, and they had like literally a little a cottage bungalow that I could quarantine in and all that sort of thing, and like yeah, and I could just see Jesus, like, literally in their lives and in their home and the space that was provided for me, and like yeah, and it was such a wild experience for me to go take that leap of faith to quit a job, but then also to take this trip over there in such uncertain times of, am I going to get back? Like, what's going to happen? All that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I, yeah, ended up doing the 2 weeks of quarantining, then going to the game, and it was so funny. It was like a game. Like I really just gambled so much, of like to be here and to be a part of this and stuff. Because this football game was, yeah, that game was just really important to me because I really felt like, yeah, it was just a significant moment that I got to enjoy and to cherish, like with um, you know, a friend of mine who I used to go to football games with, following the Melbourne Football Club, and you know, we didn't think we'd ever see our team win in premiership, but we did, because of that particular leap of faith and that time that we were there. Yeah, and um, yeah, so I ended up leaving Perth and then coming back to the Sunshine Coast and settling back here, and yeah, and then I got into disability work, and I was really lucky because I met my clients, through a SIL home that I was working at that time, and I um yeah, just met one particular client, who I still work with now, and yeah, when I met him for the first time, he was very um, broken. His mum had just passed away, and he was stuck in a SIL home where he didn't want to be. And um, yeah, I could just see him that he was a creative guy as well. 47 years old and got a brain injury and whatnot, but he um, really needed caring for in a way that only Christ can give. And the yeah, the first time that I'd met him, like, he yeah, he was nice to me, and I said, "Oh, what do you like to do?" And he's like, "Oh, I like to paint." And he's like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Cool. Let me I'll go get your paints and maybe we can set them up." And he was, in the kitchen in that time, and I went to his room and got the paints, and I came back and he had a knife, and a big cutting knife, and he like literally flipped, and he tried to stab me. He tried to kill me, like, with this knife. Like, he didn't want me around and in his life. Like, and at that
Wow.
time I didn't really know what to do. I was like trying to stop him from attacking me and hurting me. And I like held the knife in his hand, and I was like trying to get the attention of um the other support workers that were in another SIL home at that time. And yeah, and eventually another person came rushing in, and they like, came and um, helped me diffuse that situation and stuff. And then um, yeah, he calmed down, and I sat down, and I was like, whoa, like what was all that about? And I just remember God saying to me, like, just to stay the course with him and just to love him as I do, you know. And I was like, all right, like, um, yeah, and through caring for him over the past 3 years, like, we have seen the most amazing transformation happen in his life. Yeah, it's been a real journey and a roller coaster, but we've seen him go from a still home back to his own home, living as independently as possible as he can, with support workers and that taking care of him and that. But we've seen, instead of him hurting inside and having so much pain and grief and torment, from all sorts of things, the demonic forces that we can sometimes come across in our lives, and that, like, and
Mhm.
seeing that, um, we've seen all that go over a period of time, and through prayer and kindness and love and compassion, you know, he's now a different person, you know, and like, it's just amazing what God can, how he uses this, and what he can, how he can heal not only ourselves but other people,
Through us.
through our love and through our actions. And I would never have been able to have done that, you know, in my mid-20s. I wouldn't have had the capacity, I wouldn't have had the mental strength, the capacity, or the love to be able to give to someone like that. Yeah. Even when there were times where, he would try to manipulate situations, or like he'd smash my car window screen, like, you know, all sorts of violent behavior like that would come, like, but you come to realize like those attacks and stuff like aren't necessarily towards us, like, they're the things that are going on inside of that other person. And yeah, and we can anchor into the word, we can pray in those situations, we can just love as Christ does, and let him do the work, let him carry us through it all. Now, me and a client, best mates now, which is like amazing. Like we're like brothers. I see him as a brother, like yeah.
Amazing.
And yeah, so that's where I sort of am at now, really. Like, yeah, I've got this amazing client that I love and I'm invested into caring for. But then I'm also, you know, living in my own home. I've got a new housemate, David, who's also into video production and really, um, passionate about, just creating Christian content and like really trying to inspire others, you know, in their walk with Christ and trying to lead people to that. And I really felt like God's brought us together, you know, to collaborate and to really strengthen each other and to bring people towards Christ's love through our video content
Good.
and
Yeah.
discipleship. So try to disciple people through that ministry, I guess, in that way. So yeah, I'm really excited to sort of see how that all unfolds and transpires. Like, yeah.
So am I. From the video that I've seen, you're both very, very good at what you do. So yeah, it's
Thanks.
exciting to see what is
Yeah,
going to come from.
thanks. Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess, you know, you've been sitting here and listening for, quite some time now. It'd be interesting to sort of hear your thoughts, and you got anything to add to
Yeah.
that? Like, sort of
Yeah. Oh
smuggle
my
it.
God.
It's
So
so hard to
much.
like bring in so much detail and that sort of thing. But I sort of feel like this is the space in which we can do that, and we can share that. Right? And I really, I'm looking forward to like really trying to, refine it and share with other people more about, the walk, so it can be clearly explained. And but
It's an amazing story that you've shared. And I just
yeah,
love the thing
mm,
that stands out to me in,
mm,
with all testimonies, but
mm,
particularly listening to you, is just how he meets us
mm,
where we are and how he uses what we are going through in
yeah,
our life for
mm,
good, like even when we're not, when you said you didn't have a strong faith for many years there, but he was still there. And I think even for me, I did not believe in Christianity at all, but when I look back in my life, I see he was still there. He still is there throughout your entire life, even if you don't believe.
mm,
And yeah, I think, sitting on a toilet is like the absolute testimony of he'll meet you wherever you are. It's so good.
it's so true. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was just
Just
a
whatever
space there.
he needs to do, whatever
Yeah,
breadcrumb he needs to drop. It's like that's what he
yeah,
does. And
yeah,
it's so amazing. Yeah. So good. And
yeah,
like, the church, I had a very similar experience. I'd only been to one church before and only a couple of times. So
yeah,
I don't have a huge, amount of experience with it, but
yeah,
my very first time walking into that place,
mm,
also had very synchronistic, like, okay, this is where
mm,
I need to be. I knew that
mm, yep,
was,
yep,
the community aspect there.
mm,
That was the thing where I was just like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I
mm,
want. And they really, um, make an effort to
mm,
cultivate that there. The
mm,
previous church that I've been to, and it's nothing against them, there's nothing bad about it, but like no one spoke to us, my friend and I who went there. like we got acknowledged obviously when we walked through the door, but that was kind of it.
mm,
Whereas
mm,
at Anthem, it was like there was that instant feeling of community there that I think that
mm,
was um, such a powerful um, thing for someone to experience especially when you're very new to all of this. I think that was something that has always stood out to me.
mm,
And I feel like other churches, if they're not already doing that, like it's such a great thing to take on board, because it really does impact the people that are walking into that place.
mm.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I think as well, just being real. Hey, being real, like with people, like,
Yeah.
I guess for so long I had this preconceived idea that, Christians wouldn't understand my walk or haven't experienced the same things I have and stuff. So when you hear from other people who, yeah, do relate and they do give you the time to sit down with you and share and, you know, um, uh, yeah, and share their own testimony and healing and that sort of thing, then you're like, wow, like that can be for me too. And that, and it makes a bit of a light bulb go off in your own head a bit and makes you then look a bit deeper and you figure out, oh, okay, this is what I do want for my life, and I don't want that anymore. And yeah, um, yeah, and it's incredible as well, just the transformation that happens. Like, and this is something that I really want to help people with is like creating like content and video and stuff that really just shows people really tangible ways to break free of like those old molds and to be able to step into the light and to be living and dwelling with the Holy Spirit, daily. And yeah, and then how can you do that? How can you live this full life that Jesus has for us? Like, um,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm excited to sort of talk about and share, I think. Mm,
Yeah. And I think so many people think that you have to have it all together, like to
mm,
have it all
yeah,
sorted out before
yeah,
you come there. And
mm,
it's the complete opposite, I think. It's like he works in you. Like it's not even me doing anything, it's not you doing the things like you're saying when you
mm,
as a support worker, like he works
mm,
through you, changes your heart. Things for me, it's been through my kids, for you it was
mm.
like working with
Your
the elderly, I
client.
think the elderly
Yeah.
and children.
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
those who, parts of our society where you do have to be selfless because they require, so much from us. And that in itself changes the posture of your heart, I think,
mm,
in such
mm,
a way. So,
yeah,
but yeah, the work that he does in us is so profound. I could never have done, I had that very big new age background. So it was like, um, could never have done, the 10 plus years of like healing and trying to do all of these
yeah,
things. The work that he's done in me over the last, year and a half
yeah,
is,
yeah,
I could never have even, didn't even come close because it's not
yep.
real.
This is
It
not
doesn't
real.
like,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
you
Yeah,
can't do it.
you
Yeah,
can't do it. Nah, yeah, that thing that you're longing for only comes through him, And
exactly.
yeah, and even for me, like when I went to church for the first time and did all that, and then um, it took me a little bit of time to just discover things for myself. Like I actually went back to another music festival and uh, you know, could see that, but I could see so much darkness and like that was going on, hedonistic behavior, that took place there. And then I was just like, this isn't for me. Like, what am I doing? Like, get out. And then after that moment, like I remember just coming home and I'm like, all right, I gotta clean my life up. And like got rid of all the old t-shirts and things that didn't resemble Jesus and like even music and things like that I wasn't listening to and just clearing all that stuff out and having a little burning ceremony like throughout like
Yes. Yeah,
even I
yeah.
found like an old like a weed pipe and like that needed to get thrown out. Like just things in your
Yeah.
home that are hanging around. You're like, yeah, all this has got to go. Like, yeah. And now yeah, and now it's I don't, doesn't exist. It's not even a thing that you think about, is it? Like
I
um
know.
and for people,
And don't even looking for it. It's just you don't even want to go there. Like the conviction is so strong that you're like, oh gosh, why would I?
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So I think there's that thing like it's a real transformation, isn't it, that takes place in your life, and it just because you give your life to Jesus then and there, like it's a journey from then on in,
It's
and it takes
big
time.
one.
Some
Yeah.
people to let go of things will take time, but Jesus ask him about those things, and he'll show you whether you should let go or sometimes people, yeah, it takes a bit of time to to let that go, you know.
Yeah. Because we can
Mm.
justify. We can be
Mm,
like,
mm,
oh, maybe it's not that bad because of X, Y, Z, But yeah, it will always convict us. I think that's the thing is that, and it's always so gentle and
mm,
kind. Like I've,
mm,
before coming to Christianity, I thought this is like wrathful God that just wants to send people to hell, basically, because that was what my idea of Christianity was all about. Like, no, I knew
yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
nothing about it, and except for what culture, I guess, had said and people around me. So um, then when you realize it's actually not like that at all, he's just this kind, loving father that actually wants the best for us. And we are talking about this before we started recording, like the rules that I was so resistant to rules and keep someone telling me what to do, like I had to obey, or but it's actually when you follow this code, it's like a code for life. When you follow it, your
mm,
life gets better. And
mm, yeah,
overnight, it's definitely a process. Like you said, I feel
yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
definitely still in it.
mm,
But and probably will be for the rest of my life. But it's I think especially when you first come to know Christ, there's a lot of clearing out to do.
mm,
And
mm,
it is that the thing that I love about um the Bible is that it's so clear of, I mean, there's obviously things that get misinterpreted for sure, but around what it's like a manual for life. That's how I see it. It's like how
mm.
to live a
It
good
is.
life,
Mm,
you know? And
yeah,
that, yeah, it's so amazing to have that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, sometimes I feel a little bit silly the fact that I wandered away and that, but it was obviously part of my journey, and I feel like God uses all of that, for his good. He's going to use those experiences and those times that I had at music festivals, and even just going out and filming in those environments, because I wasn't just partying, I was working as well, in those environments, film work and stuff. So, and I learnt a lot. I learnt a lot how to film things in those spaces, and yeah, and now I'm using that experience and of how to use a camera in those environments, and um, to now, share that knowledge with younger kids in the church and teach them how to
Yeah.
film things and see things
Yeah.
through God's eyes. So, um,
But also to meet people who have cut or who may be still in that world, like
mm, mm,
um, no one can understand a path to the same degree as someone who's walked it.
mm,
So for you to even just, I don't know, I feel like God just puts these people in our path sometimes that we have had that same or similar, not the same, but similar
mm,
walk that
mm,
you have. It's not just a logical understanding of what they're
mm,
talking about. It's like actually you've lived it as well, and that is a
mm.
very powerful thing, I think.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's
Mm,
how, I connected with Elizabeth, like,
yeah,
yeah, and just being able to share openly my walk and testimony
yeah,
to her, and led someone else
yeah,
from having, I guess, a more spiritual perspective of the world to becoming now a devoted follower of Christ. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for like that time, and yeah, the friendship that I formed with her as a person, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's so cool because like it just brings me like great confidence, you know, that I can relate with others and to
Yeah.
you know be able to share my faith, you know, given the right time, and then also how to share that, like, you know, it's different from person to person and that, but
Yeah.
for her, like, she when I just spoke to her about Jesus, like she didn't want me to stop talking, like she was like, wow, like this is amazing, I can't believe, like, you know this person that completely transformed your life, like yeah. So
It's so good.
yeah.
Again, it's like literally meets every single person where they're at. And
Mm,
yeah, it's so profound because you just know that's him working, knew that's exactly what she needed. And that
mm,
was what opened the door for her. For me, it was like 18 months of like, no, that's not for me. No, that's not for
mm,
me, like total resistance. Whereas for her, it was very
is-
fast.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
which is, yeah, it's so cool.
Mm. And I
Yeah.
think too, like, don't underestimate like um how you share the gospel with people. Like, you know, it can be just as simple as, you know, a bit of scripture like put on your car window, you know. It can be as simple, you know, as putting a poster in your toilet, you know. Our
Adore. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And our homes is such a place where we can welcome people in and we can show them God's love, you know. So yeah, I really believe that, you know, our homes are our sanctuary and our spaces, and that's really where we can, yeah, outpour God's love and to show that externally, you know, through where we live. And yeah, it's a great way to um, you know, bring people to Christ is, you know, just invite them in for a cuppa and say hello and, you know, have a chat, and, you know, you don't necessarily need to smash them over the head with a Bible because 99%
No,
of the time that doesn't work, you know.
no,
It's
it
showing
doesn't.
them love, compassion, kindness, you know, grace, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then let them slowly come to that understanding for themselves, and yeah,
100%.
then you can
Yeah.
give them a
What do
Bible.
they say? That yeah. We plant the seeds, God does the rest. That's the thing,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
and that's all. And it's not in a manipulative way. It's because I truly believe those who are meant to walk this path will, and he will, yeah, meet them in the exact right time for them. But
Mm,
um, yeah, it's so, I think we're always given so many opportunities to
mm,
um, live
mm,
as Jesus would, like
mm,
often find myself in my going, how would Jesus respond to this? Because the old me would be like, "Ah," like
mm,
probably losing
mm.
it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think that there's always opportunities for us to, yeah, practice what we preach, isn't it? It's like what
Mm,
we to live those values. And yeah, definitely as a mum, I find that every single day I get that opportunity. So um yeah,
and
yeah,
also,
it's amazing.
yeah, just for families to like continue to live out that the Christian rhythms in their life, you know, to make sure that the father takes their family to the church, and you know that's a
Yeah,
regular part of their life, like, you know, because when my family stopped
can be.
going, like
Yeah,
it sort of, yeah, took us further away, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's something that
yeah.
um yeah, I just think through my own experience that I've sort of come together for myself. So yeah.
Mm, that's true. And
Mm.
I think I saw a meme that said something like, when a dad goes to church, it's like 97% chance that the children will too. It's like there's such an impact. Out me coming to Christ, so I was I don't know, I think I was 41, something like that.
Yeah.
My husband, but like I go to church on
Mm.
my own. My husband doesn't go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got two older kids. They're 21 and 19.
Mm.
They don't believe, but I trust in their journeys, and I have
Yeah.
my two
Yeah.
younger ones. um,
mm,
do. They, yeah,
mm,
one goes to youth group. One is our youngest is an absolute diehard lover of Jesus, and I truly believe he was the one that yeah created that shift in me when he was born. But
mm,
yeah, we have a very unique, not unique, because I know there's other families that are like this as well, but
mm.
it's like
Totally.
it's a very different situation that I talk to God about a lot. But
Mm,
you
mm.
know, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We all have our spiritual wrestles, don't we? That we have to, you know,
we do,
deal
we
with,
do.
in our own
It's
personal
definitely
lives
not
and stuff.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I just wanted to. I got this scripture here that always
Yes.
comes back to me. Like now that I'm, a devoted follower of Christ, is just that it is no longer who I live, but Christ who lives in me. It's Galatians 2 verse 20. And it's such a powerful one. Like because I just really feel like that for me is like now the purpose in life is to reveal Christ to them, and however that looks and that well that I feel like that's part of God's job,
Exactly.
in the work
We
in
just do our
us.
best.
Yeah, we do our best,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hope that my life now is a reflection of Christ's love, for others. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I can see that
I
in
see
you
it in
as
you.
well.
I see it in
Oh,
you
thank
too.
you.
I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he's
amazing.
he's been very good to me. Like, and yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
lucky to live the life that I have, with the community and people and family around me. So yeah, yeah,
Amazing. Thank you so much for
no
jumping
worries.
on
That's all right.
and sharing this. And yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I know a testimony can always there's so many parts to it, I think, and so many, you're a videographer. It's like there's so many angles you can take, what filters you want to bring it in
yeah,
from. But I think this is just
yeah,
really like a nice way to hear from someone who has, yeah, you grew up with faith, but then, because I know this happens so much. I see it on social media all the time, especially for a lot of people who are in the new age because
mm,
they, um, yeah, had experiences, when they were younger or whatever, or
mm,
just really decided that no, that's not for me.
mm,
And I think when you hear stories like this of how people have come back and
mm,
how he works in your life to, yeah, bring back those foundations that were built early on. I mean, I don't know if it was your experience, but I know a lot had um, just misunderstandings, I think, of from what they grew up with
mm,
to realizing that when they're older that it actually wasn't that like you with the church, like with
mm, mm.
going to a church and 80s church very different to
Mm.
2020s
Yeah,
churches.
yeah, yeah,
Or, like you have these
yeah,
ideas of from when you're a child, like this is just how
yeah.
it is still, and
That is,
we,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we
But it's
don't.
not. It's
Our
the
memories as
church.
children aren't always
Yeah, I feel like the church has definitely evolved and changing to the modern times and stuff, and um,
yeah, it
yeah,
really has.
and then also how people um, yeah relate and connect with us. Like I feel like it's not just Christians being the button up shirt and the tie and oh hello how are you, yeah,
Boring,
nice to meet you, boring. Like nah, nah, nah.
weird, yeah,
There's so much many more dimensions to the Christian faith, and yeah, we can wear whatever we come as you are, to church now. Like I don't feel like
yeah.
there's any stigma around it.
No,
Um,
it definitely is not. Yeah,
yeah,
so
um, yeah. So no, I'm really really excited. Like I really feel like I say to people that God's got me in this sweet season of life, where I know he's working and he's going to do big things like, not only with myself, but also, in David's life and, the people around. And he's now, slowly bringing it all together, to, um, yeah, hopefully, be up to, just create something really cool that people will be able to learn from and enjoy and to be a part of, Yeah.
Yeah, I have no
Mm.
doubt that
Yeah.
will happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
And obviously as well, like just with you and your the testimonies and things that you're recording as well, like, I'm sure you're growing so much from hearing these testimonies and really sitting
I
down
am,
and hearing them and gaining the wisdom and the insights from people who have
definitely.
been doing the unraveling and and having their
Yeah,
lives been put back together by Christ. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So fun.
you're growing so much already, like as a Christian, because of that. So yeah, thanks for providing the
Definitely.
space, and the
Yeah,
time
thank
to
you.
share
Thank
and
you for
talk.
jumping on. Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
It,
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Liberated by Faith podcast. I am so grateful to have you here and truly just give all glory to God to all that has been shared here today. If you received something from this episode, please just take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Make sure you tag me at liberated_by_faith and just share your takeaways, and may God work through you and through into your sphere of influence to get this episode into the ears of those who need it most. I thank you again for your support, and I look forward to having you join me again in the next episode.